Welcome back to On the Mic, man. And it's hard to believe this is already episode 13 of season 1, but we have another incredible show lined up for tonight. But first, let's talk about the sponsor for tonight's episode. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Cornfield Fishing Gear, mounting equipment that secures your valuable fishing electronics, rock solid engineering, safe and secure. Fish more, worry less with Cornfield Fishing Gear. But that is not all they offer. Electronic mounting brackets, as we just talked about, but transducer mounting brackets for your forward-facing sonar and all your live real-time fish finders, rod holders, all kinds of accessories. But guys, I am telling you, Cornfield Fishing Gear is where it's at. 100% made, manufactured, and produced right here in the USA. And there's not a lot of other companies that could say that. Everything from all the parts to the whole 9 yards with Cornfield is made right here in the US, produced and manufactured. But go to their website and check them out at cornfieldfishinggear.com. Again, that's www.cornfieldfishinggear.com. Get some Cornfield Fishing Gear electronic mounting brackets and other stuff that they offer as well on your boat, and you will not be sorry. All right, let's get into tonight's episode. And this is an episode that I am really looking forward to because of who we have coming on. Tonight, we are going to be joined on the mic by, well, he's actually a new teammate of mine. That's right. And we're going to go in depth in talking about that tonight on this episode as well. But Jake Lawrence just partnered up with Cornfield Fishing Gear, which is actually the sponsor for tonight's episode as well. But myself, I have been working with Cornfield now for the better part of a year and a half, going on 2 years now. So that just goes to say I am so super excited about having Jake Lawrence come on board with us at Cornfield Fishing Gear. And he is just going to bring so much to the table with this already great company with Cornfield Fishing Gear. But super excited about that. And also, who can't forget the showdown between Jake Lawrence and Jacob Wheeler on Lake Nickajack when David took down Goliath at that epic Stage 4 event right here in my home stomping grounds of Lake Nickajack. So we're going to go into depth in talking about that tournament and what that meant for Jake's career, beating Jacob Wheeler toe to toe, head to head, and we all witnessed it. We all watched it go down live, which was one of the most epic tournament finishes I think we've ever seen. Probably the most epic finish we've ever seen. So this is a little bit longer show. It's actually the longest one we've done up to this point. But guys, stick around for the entire show because it's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time with Jake Lawrence. So stick around for the entire show. You won't be sorry you did. So anyway, we're going to jump right into it. I'm talking way too much. I'm just so excited about tonight's episode with Jake. So anyway, without further ado, let's go right into tonight's episode with Bass Pro Tour epic winner of Stage 4, Mr. Jake Lawrence. On the mic with Major League Fishing, Bass Pro Tour, stage champion, Jake Lawrence. What is going on, Jake? How are you doing this afternoon, my man?
We are doing awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me on, and look forward to diving into all things fishing.
Yes, sir, man. Anytime, us as fishermen, man, anytime we could talk about fishing or talk fishing in general, we could talk fishing all day long.
You got that right.
Yes, sir.
And in fact, that's probably, I got a lot of favorite parts of what I'm doing, and got a lot going on. But to wake up every day and to get to do and talk about what you are so passionate about, I'm probably going to spend 7 or 8 hours on the phone today just in different dealings.
Yeah.
But it's not going to feel like work, and that's what it's all about. It's super enjoyable, and I'm so glad that we can use this platform to educate and entertain all the viewers alike. So really looking forward to getting into it.
Yes, sir. Let's start off with the off season, man. What does the off season look like for Jake Lawrence? And you know, how much off season do you really actually get as far as stuff you can do just for you, without worrying about, because we know once your season ends, it doesn't end for you. You have your boat wraps, sponsorship stuff. So you keep going even though your season's done all the way through the off season as far as getting ready for next season, the whole 9 yards. So, but when you do have some time just to do what you want to do, what kind of hobbies and stuff like that do you get into doing in the off season?
Yeah, so I'm a big waterfowl hunter. I actually, prior to to getting on the Bass Pro Tour, I actually got into waterfowl hunting for about a decade, and really enjoyed that as a kind of a pastime, getting to enjoy time in the outdoors with my two boys and my family. It's certainly something that it used to be. Obviously, as a job, it was high stress and a lot going on. But these days, I really enjoy going. I don't care that we even see or hear enough. I just enjoy time slowing down and
Yeah.
spending that time with the boys and my father, grandfather, everyone alike there. You're exactly right. There is so much that is involved in the off season, and I really I can say that I'm in an off season in the sense that we have no tournaments, but I am working just as hard each and every
Yeah.
day. Here, call it end of November, as I do, the end of January or February. I really have kind of gone full bore, all in on this, and I'm not going to quit until we're where we need to be and satisfied. And I'm not sure that I'm ever going to be satisfied. So we've got a long trek ahead and a lot of work to do. But it's, again, it doesn't feel like work when it's something that you're so passionate about. And I'm so fortunate to be in this position. I am obviously worked my entire life to get to this point, and I'm so thrilled to have that opportunity to pass my knowledge along and again, entertain and help in any way that I can.
Yeah. Now, do you get a chance to do any pre-practicing during the off season for next year before some of the events go off limits, or not?
I do. Pre-practice is something that I'm a little torn on. It can, of course, kind of go, many different directions. For instance, I did go down and pre-practice for red crested gunner's last spring. Of
Right.
course, 30, probably 35 or 40 days prior to the event,
Mm-hmm.
and I found the biggest school you have ever. And I could try to explain it, and it wouldn't do it justice. I was literally catching them not trying to. If that kind of gives you some
Yeah.
semblance of what was going on, and I knew in hindsight, like this school's probably going to move around, probably going to change, but was very hopeful. It was a little hole in the grass, perfect little staging area,
Yeah.
and I chomped at the bit to get down there for practice. And
Yeah.
obviously, that was the very first place I ran. Absolute ghost town. All the grass had scummed over, the hole had kind of closed in, and that was essentially, I had to take almost everything that I learned in pre-practice,
Yeah.
as far as where fish were, throw it out the window and start over.
Yeah.
And that's most of the time what happens. But on the flip side of that, coming home from I believe it was Lake Murray, I ran up to Chickamauga and Nickajack and looked around for a day on each lake, just again familiarizing myself.
Yeah.
I've been to Chick a time or two, maybe 4 or 5 days total, but I had never been to Nickajack. So just wanted to kind of ride around, get a general idea of what the place looks like. Lo and behold, I ended up finding that area back there in Mullins. They were, suspended everywhere in there, and so I roll back, same deal, super hyped up, but no going in. They're probably not going to be here. Roll right back in there. The first day that I was actually on Nickajack for practice, and within 5 minutes I knew, like, this is happening. This is stands a really, really good opportunity here of something special happening. And of course it did. So,
Yeah.
pre-practice, long story, short, it really can go a lot of different ways, but the more that I pre-practice, the more I get comfortable with how to pre-practice.
Yeah.
And for me, I really do a lot less fishing, a lot more idling, running on plane. There are, with not just the Bass Pro Tour and the Every Fish Counts, but really all tournaments, we're all, as fishermen, so good at what we do now. Our knowledge base is it's unbelievable what people know at some of the ages that they do now. We're all so similar in our abilities.
Yeah.
It really takes having an extra something. It's efficiency in my mind. So if I pull into a pocket on, well, let's not talk about next year. Let's just say Gunnersville, for instance. I'm not off limits there. If I pull in and I see a secondary little point that's got good hydrilla growing off the side of it, and I catch a few there at the end of the first period. Well, if I have already looked around and I know where 2 or 3 more of those are that I can quickly run to in the start of the second, I get so much further ahead of competitors. And that's really what our pre-practicing entails, and really kind of what we're trying to do is not so much even learn what fish are doing at that given moment, but I may know, okay, this is probably going to be a pre-spawn event. We're looking for staging areas and transition, rock transitions, whatever that body of water environment gives us. I'm going to run around trying to find as much of that as possible, prior to the event. Just, again, efficiency is key.
Yeah. Yeah, and talking about what you're talking about there, as far as the Bass Pro Tour format, catch, weigh, release, everything counts, or every fish within the minimum size limit counts. We all talk about the pressure on anglers knowing what you need. And we're gonna dive into talking about Chickamauga and Nickajack here very shortly. And I believe me, that's I can't wait to start talking to you about that one. But the pressure on an angler in that type of format versus what you feel when during just say a 5-fish box, bag 'em, haul 'em back to weigh-in type of a format where you really don't know what you need. If you have a good bag or you don't have a good bag, but you really don't know if you're first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or whatever going into the weigh-in. How much pressure does that put on an angler in the Bass Pro Tour when, like, Nickajack and Chickamauga, and I don't want to go into details on that because we will talk about that shortly, but when you and Wheeler is going neck and neck and basically trading knockout punches for the last 20 minutes, he catches one and you're behind now, and that has to be the most pressure you could have. And you're not a young guy, you're in your mid-30s, 33, 34, but you're still, when it comes to the Bass Pro Tour, you're going into your second year. So you are a rookie when it comes to that, and the amount of pressure that goes into that dude. What were you feeling in that moment as far as the pressure wise, and how did you do that knowing what was at stake?
Yeah, the intensity level at the Bass Pro Tour, and again, just as you said with that format, it is unlike anything else I have ever experienced in my entire life. I would almost, and my wife, she would snugger at me if she was here right now, but I would almost correlate it to, your first child being born. Like,
yes.
Obviously, I have a lot more control in a bass tournament than what I do in childbirth, so to speak. But just that feeling, that intensity, it's both stress and excitement. It's all things piled into one given moment, and to try to even express that is truly hard. But it has made me such a better angler, and probably I'll even go as far to say it's made me a better person
Yeah.
by handling, learning how and figuring out the best way to handle, any situation under pressure. Once you kind of, and hey, I'm by no means am I saying that I have mastered it and gotten ahead of the curve, so to speak, but once you kind of get your feet under you and have some experience with that, it makes your decision making so crisp, so clean. Now they're not always the right decision, but they're good, sound decisions that you learn to make under pressure, and also, and what I've had to do this year, and still kind of battling it a little bit, is learn to deal with the decisions that you make, whether
Yeah.
they were right, wrong, or indifferent. You really have to learn to build confidence in your ability, again, even outside of fishing, and stand behind that decision. That okay, that wasn't, at the end of the tournament, we can always look back and go, boy, that decision
Yeah.
right there, that really sent us out into right field.
Yeah.
But again, I've learned to kind of, be okay with that, be
Yeah.
comfortable. And I obviously still try to learn as much as I can from each decision or outcome, during a tournament. But ultimately, I know that in that given moment, that's what made the most sense to me, and that's where I'm the most confident. So that's what we're going to kind of run with. It may work out. We may win the event, or we may fall to dead last place. But this is the decision. Whatever the circumstances may be, this is what I feel like we need to do, and we kind of run with it. And if I can help anybody or give anyone any words of encouragement, again, this is somewhat cliche, outside of the kind of the tournament scene, but it does correlate to that a lot.
Yeah.
You've got to have confidence in whatever it is that you're doing, and not second guess yourself. I still can't fully wrap my mind around the mentality and the confidence level and how that parlays into success, but there is absolutely no denying it. When you're confident in whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to do that so much better. And that's something that, we all are continuing to learn and trying to grow and get better, for next year. It's the fun. I enjoy kind of getting sidetracked here. I enjoy the strategic side of tournament fishing, probably more so than I do reeling one in or getting a bite or the actual catch of a fish. Now, don't get me wrong, we all enjoy that. That's a large part of what we do and why we're doing it. But what really tickles my fancy is to know that I went in with a good strategy, and maybe even in a lot of tournaments, that's not the strategy that's going to win. But we made some decisions, we made changes that led us to where we ended up, and that's a huge portion of the Bass Pro Tour format. The one thing that this format does over any other is it weeds out the randoms and the luckies. And, we've all been, anyone listening has been in a tournament. We've got 30 minutes left. We're running back to the check-in, and we made one stop on an isolated laydown or a little clump of lily pad and catch a 5-pounder. You don't know it at that given moment, but that jumped you from 70th to 8th. And you didn't really know that fish was there. You had no foundation of knowledge that would tell you that. It was just kind of good fortune. I made enough stops today. But 5-fish events, you tend to run into that. You'll have a couple guys that just got fortunate and ran into a good bite. Didn't really understand what was fully happening on the lake, but it looks good on paper.
Yeah.
The Bass Pro Tour format, you cannot hide. If you didn't dial it in and you're not on whatever that given body of water is going to feed to us, it shows in the standings. You can't hide not being on them or not understanding what's happening. From a tournament angler standpoint, I really enjoy that. I like the black and whiteness of an every fish counts format. there are some anglers that give, throw a little flack at catching a lot of little ones, but if you look at each event, I've not systematically broken this down at each fish catch, but I've been told from various people, and I can see it when I watch the guys that are catching a lot of numbers usually catch the most quality as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certainly, don't get me wrong, there are exceptions like anything else. There are patterns going a little bitty net on,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. You're probably going to catch a lot of little ones doing this, but generally speaking, um, the guy that gets the most bites is going to end up with the most quality, and you see that it kind of shines. So I really really enjoy the format, and I'll tell you, going back to a five fish event after fishing these, I fished one invitational and a Toyota last year, just kind of mixing things up around the house, and it feels like you have days worth of time. I just need five bites.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to kind of compartmentalize what you need to do that day and how it needs to go. Again, that BPT format, you make one wrong decision and you drop instantly.
Yeah.
You see it, you know it. In that five fish game, you've got all the time in the world. You only need to make five good decisions all day. You can make 100 bad ones. You just need to ensure that you make five good ones at some point during the tournament hours.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to back up a little bit before we move on. I want to talk about you fished when you went to college for your collegiate fishing. You fished for Bethel University. Now, everybody that's familiar with collegiate fishing and college fishing all knows that Bethel University is a powerhouse in the collegiate ranks. They're always up there at the top of the college level fishing. And again, that was kind of because you are in your mid 30s now, so that was kind of in the early, I don't want to say the real early days, but the earlier days of collegiate fishing in college.
You're exactly right. So to give you a little side note there, and again, so very fortunate. Can't thank the athletic directors and Gary, everybody that was a part of making that happen there in Bethel. They really paved the path for a lot of the schools that you see now offering these scholarships. But I was actually among the first three. So I was there on the kind of the inaugural start of scholarships being offered for bass fishing in the college world. And so it was really really cool starting from the ground up. We were all learning kind of as we went, and I'm sure Gary would kind of snarl a little bit if he heard me say that, but we truly weren't. We didn't know what was right and what wasn't. We were breaking new ground with essentially every direction that we went with this collegiate participation. And when I say that, I don't mean from an angler standpoint, but the actual organization, the school themselves getting involved, and this being a true sport that the schools will adhere to and kind of follow with. So really really a unique opportunity for me, both from a business standpoint. Again, I learned a tremendous amount about working with partners and sponsorships, but also it gave me, and probably most importantly, it gave me the opportunity as a fairly broke college angler. I hate to say it, but it's just the reality of where we all are at that point in our life. To travel the country, primarily kind of the southeast, Texas to Florida, up to roughly the Great Lakes, Michigan area, to travel on their dime and be able to expand my knowledge base, learn new bodies of water, new patterns and ways to go about finding them. I can almost guarantee you, had I not been given that opportunity, I wouldn't be standing here having this conversation with you. And I truly believe that. It was a very impactful time in my young life and led me to to where I am. I mean, this
Yeah.
is we all dream to do this, and there's one thing to have a dream, and there's another to live it. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is, everything sounds awesome from the outside looking in, and trust me, it is. I don't mean to cast any kind of dark shadow over professional fishing or the industry, but there is a lot that comes with this. Whether you're a college angler or a father and a husband and have a family here at home, there is a lot of time on the road. There's a lot of frustrations and setbacks that come with all this. And the opportunity to experience that in college and really figure out this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna excuse me for saying this, but I'm gonna embrace the suck when it happens,
Yeah.
and we're gonna fight through it and come out on the other end. And there are a lot of college anglers that do this for a year or two and say, hey, this isn't for me. This isn't what I want to do. This is not what I thought it was, and that's fine. That's awesome that we have that opportunity or platform at the collegiate level to really steer them in a direction, whether it's dig your heels in or tuck and run. It's great that we have that there at such an early place in their life.
Yeah. Now, besides the fishing at Bethel, what did you go to Bethel as far as your studies on? Because a lot of professional anglers, if you look back, when they go to college, they're fishing, but they go for like a business or marketing because
Correct.
once your dream all the way through college is to be a professional angler. But going into being a pro angler is you need to know how to market. You need to have a good business sense because a lot of your pro fishing basically you're not going to survive if you don't have the marketing skills and the business skills.
Correct.
You're not going to survive as a pro. So, what did you study at Bethel? Was it the business or marketing, or did you go another?
It was. It sure was, and that was really a twofold decision on my end. So I graduated high school in 2009, right in the middle, as we all recall. The recession and things were, economically speaking, things were not at its best.
Yeah.
When I graduated, and I saw a lot of guys and gals as well that were a few years ahead of me, graduating college with a very specific degree and having a very hard time finding a place to fill that position, finding a place inside of their little niche,
Right.
of what they wanted to do. And so it was kind of a two-pronged approach. Obviously, long before college, I knew that this was, like many of us, this is what I wanted to do, and I am going to do everything in my power to put kind of all the ducks in the row to make this happen. But I did, to some degree, want to keep my studies there somewhat broad, so that when I did graduate and I got out and started a job, it was not something that I was hemmed up in a corner, so to speak. I was not stuck with I hate to throw anything under the bus, but like a biology major. Like
Yeah.
There's just it's very hard, especially right here in Northwest Tennessee. We're a big ag area, a lot of farming, some industry, but it's fairly straightforward here. There's not a lot of opportunities. So I wanted to, from a business standpoint, I wanted to be very broad and kind of have an all-encompassing study. So that was really kind of my two-pronged approach. Obviously, it went pretty well how I envisioned. I got out of college, graduated college there with my degree, and I actually went out and instead of immediately starting this, I wanted to get some legs under me. I wanted to have a little bit of a financial foundation there to fall back on. Again, that was all kind of part of seeing a few individuals in front of me and kind of how things worked and what worked for them and what didn't. Again, just trying to learn from everyone else's mistake if possible. And so I did. I sold insurance for 5 or 6 years. Really built, the marketability and the salesmanship.
Right.
It really kind of built that side of me. And again, all through this probably 8 or 9, 10 year process, I fished every single day that I possibly could. And,
Right.
it was not like I laid the rods down and said, okay, I'm going to go to work for, this was just a stepping stone. Back up for a second, the one unique thing that I really enjoy about professional fishing is there is no two ways to get there. Like there are so many avenues in which these guys and gals have gotten to where they are, and it's really fascinating to me to kind of hear that and see that. But moving in, forward. After about 5 or 6 years, I had kind of done what I wanted to do there. And to be completely frank with you, insurance was not something that I wanted to make a career out of. I enjoyed it while I did it, loved helping and doing what I did for my customers, but that just wasn't me. And so I really knew to be happy, even if I wasn't fishing professionally, I wanted to be working in the industry while I'm kind of building up to this point. And so I actually started working here locally at ACS Marine and started selling Phoenix bass boats for them. And most importantly, I started guiding. And so what I would do, my guiding was quite a bit different than kind of your traditional guiding in the sense that mine was all educationally based.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I would go in the customer's boat, we would set their graphs up, and we would go attack whatever body of water we were on for various reasons. Again, almost all of them had some educational, background there. We wanted to learn deep cranking, or we wanted to learn side imaging, or whatever that particular customer wanted. And it truly, it advanced me way faster than I could have ever done on my own. Because what I found is, as we all know, there are many different ways to look at something, or we don't all come to the same conclusion the same way. And so by me taking you out and teaching you about side imaging, you may ask me 2 or 3 questions during the course of that day that I would have never even thought about in that manner, in that capacity, so to speak. And so it really sped my learning curve up even faster than what it was already happening, just by forcing myself to kind of honestly, I would put myself in weird predicaments, meaning, I might not be on a body of water for a week or 2 weeks, but I'll book 3 or 4 days in a row there, and then I may not come back for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll book 2 days. And so not only was I constantly being pushed and asked in different ways, but also fishing new bodies of water. On average, I'd say I'd fish 3 bodies of water per week, and I really wanted to intentionally do that to keep myself hunting and keep myself, looking. It got really mundane for me to go out right here out of Paris Landing, just down the road from the house, and go fish the same 25 places that I know they're living on, and they have been for the last couple of weeks. But I wasn't able to learn anything from that. It almost kind of slowed me down to some degree. So I appreciate those fellas and all my customers there. I was not. If anybody ever asked me, I would certainly be upfront and truthful with them. But I a lot of times wouldn't necessarily tell somebody that I invented the slate a week ago. So we would just kind of let the day unfold, and fortunately, most every day, we would accomplish what we were after.
Yeah.
And so I did that for probably 5 or 6 years until it was about 2 or 3 years ago. I actually had a really good friend and customer of mine, Monty McWilliams from Mallard Estates, that really pushed me over the edge. I had to be completely honest with you. I was having a ton of fun doing what I was doing, guiding. Again, with me, the way I kind of built it, it kept it interesting and fun and new every day, and I kind of got in this rut and almost got away from fishing at this level altogether. And man, I've built up a great book of business, and this is more people calling than I have days to fish. This would be crazy to turn this all over just for this dream to go do this for a living, on tour, so to speak. And so I cannot thank Monty and the whole crew there at Mallard Estates Outfitters. They all but kicked my butt out the door to get me get in the invitationals and what's now called the pro circuit.
Yeah.
And really kind of get the ball rolling in the court that we've always wanted to be. So it was a really cool, unique, way that I got here, and certainly any one or two of those things don't happen, I don't know that we're sitting here having this conversation. So I'm, overly grateful for all the things that have happened in my life, and I just hope that I can utilize this platform to help others in whatever way possible. If that's get you one more bite next Saturday in your little club tournament, or some major life crisis that we all need to work through. If there is any way that I can help anyone, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Now, are you still doing any guiding on your downtime? And you probably don't have hardly any downtime anymore, but.
Unfortunately, goodness, I wish I had the time. I've had one phone call and 2 text messages just from this morning, asking about that. But unfortunately, it has, it's really taken a ton of my time to really adhere to some of these contractual agreements and make sure that we stay on top of our partnerships and all things kind of moving into next year. There is a tremendous amount of moving parts in the off season, and a lot of these guys make it sound so laid back, and maybe it is for a lot of these fellas. But I have probably worked more hours in the last 2 months than I would in, say, April or May. I'm fishing all day, every day. But it is, again, I say this, by no means is this a complaint, but it's encompassing this time of year to stay on top of things and get it all prepared.
Exactly.
We have a lot of fun with it, but it is time consuming.
Yeah, and that's some of the things that the fishing fans out there don't really get a chance to see or really know about, is the business side of being a professional bass angler. Because everybody thinks you just put the boat in the water and go cast a line around all day, but it kind of doesn't work that way as a professional angler. Your season ended about 2 months ago, and you've been working as hard or harder now with all your different obligations, and if nothing else, getting ready, everything together, sponsorship related stuff for next season. Getting the boat, everything wrapped, ready to go, because typically, things change from year to year. And when things change from year to year, it means your boat wrap, your truck wrap, the whole 9 yards. So that's kind of the stuff the fans don't actually get a chance to see when they just see you on the water fishing.
You're absolutely right. I wish I had $1. and people don't. I don't mean this in a bad sense. If anybody listening has told me this, you're not hurting my feelings. But I wish I had $1 for every person that's come up to me here in the last, call it 2 months or so, that said, "Boy, I know you're busy all year on the road, but I bet you're enjoying just sitting back and hanging out in the recliner this winter." And I was thinking, "Boy, if you only knew."
Yeah, if you only knew, man.
Yeah, that's all part of it. And I enjoy this time of year. I love relationship building and seeing where, this is the time of year for me to kind of reflect on the season, both from a competitive standpoint and from a business standpoint. Where did we go wrong? What did we do right? How can we make things better? And so that's, if you can't tell already, I sometimes don't come off extremely analytical, with my redneck accent and kind of the way I do some things. But I am extremely analytical when it comes to to fishing and strategies and there are some things that I'm still tackling, trying to prepare for next year. Basically, how do we, when I met with this situation how do I make the decision?
Yeah.
In other words, one that I'm tackling now, we don't have to go too deep, but there were a number of tournaments last year where made the championship day, but I knew that I had more or less kind of burned up everything that I had to get to that point. I could probably go finish middle of the pack, or call it 4 to 8, if I just went and did what I've been doing all week. But I know that I'm taking myself out of an opportunity to win.
Yeah.
And so I left at almost every situation this past season where I was put in that predicament. I would choose to go for the win. That was kind of even towards the end of the season when things were getting really tight between Jacob and I. That was my mentality. That's kind of where I went with it. And honestly, looking back on the year, I feel like I left some points out there. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Was it enough to win AOI and take it from him? Absolutely not. He still wins, hands down. But I would have made it a lot closer race.
Right.
He won by 5 to 15 points instead of 40. Had I played it slightly more conservatively. And so moving into next season, I don't know. I still can't make up my mind. Obviously, our one goal is to win, an event or two during the course of the season, but ultimately we all want to win over the year. So
right.
I'm still kind of bouncing that back and forth. I don't know the direction that I'm going to go with that next year. I hope anyway. I feel like I'm going to put myself in that situation at some point next season, and it's up to me this winter to kind of figure out the direction that we want to go. But
right.
that is what keeps me going and pushing and always trying to be better. It's just analyzing what we've done and how we've done it and how can we make that better.
Yeah, man, and that right there kind of leads me into what we want to talk about next, the 2025 season. You fished the Toyota Series. I think 2018 you won your first Toyota Series event, and after that I think you ended up winning a total of 3 Toyota Series events. Yep. Now we're moving into 2025 season. You're a rookie on the Bass Pro Tour. You win Rookie of the Year. But we're going to talk about, I think, what everybody wants to talk about, and that is Stage 4 going toe-to-toe with, and all respect to Jacob Wheeler, and I told Jacob this, anytime you talk about the GOAT, because out of the utmost respect I have for KVD, I'm never going to do that right yet until Jacob retires, and then we can have that argument. But I had that conversation with Jacob, and I told him, I'll never say outright the GOAT. It's always going to be arguably until Jacob's done, and then you'll have that. Then you'll be able to make that decision. But I'm going to just say arguably the GOAT, dude, going toe to toe on the final day on Lake Nickajack, watching it all go down. I don't know, because I was there doing media at the facilities, and I did have a chance to talk with you after the fact and interview you as well after it all was done. But watching on the big screen, keeping an eye on the score tracker, I really don't know if I was more nervous for you or you were more nervous on the water as it was happening, dude. Because have you, and I'm sure you did, but have you had a chance to go back and look at the telecast and look at the footage and see how it all went down outside of your boat yet?
So I've watched all of the long form highlights. They have one there that's 7 or 8, 10, 12 minutes, kind of the last 15 minutes or so. I did do that. I'm still not going back and watch the entire day.
Yeah.
I just have not had a moment to. But I will tell you, occasionally, it's kind of funny. I'm not a huge sleeper, so I'm kind of up and down all night on my phone. And it's so cool I'll be scrolling through social media somewhere, and that 8 or 9, 10 minute clip will come up, and I have to watch it every time. I bet I've watched it 15 or 20 times now. It gives me chills every single time I watch it, and I mean, my palms are sweaty. I'm like back in that moment, even though I know exactly how this is all going to work out.
Yeah.
It's just one of those moments in the history of bass tournaments. It's going to be really hard to top. I hope that we can, but that is a moment that will forever go down in my mind as a highlight of my career.
Yeah.
That was just one of those, really that entire week, I could spend hours just kind of telling you about different things that happened that week. You hear this a lot when an angler wins, it's almost, it's so cliche, but it's like it was meant to be. Like everything was laid out in front of you, and things throughout that week, I mean 6 or 7 days prior, that happened that led me to where we are, and the win and everything that happened there. So it's so fascinating, to see. But I tell you, kind of not off topic, but moving kind of past it. We'll certainly go back to that moment. But the absolute coolest part of this entire process of me winning the event and everything that comes with all that is still to this day. I'll come across people, they find me, and we tell the story of what they were doing in that given moment when I caught that last 5.5 pounder, 10 or 12 seconds left. The enthusiasm, the excitement, the celebration from literally thousands of different households and workplaces and wherever you may have been watching at that moment. To me, that is the epitome of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
And feel the excitement and to have that and to hear everybody's stories. It's super cool for me because I get to relive that moment over and over and over. But it's really it's gratifying to see how much that meant to a lot of other people. A lot of people that aren't even fishermen, that don't even necessarily, would not be following the event had I not, been there.
Yeah.
Just people I grew up with and from all walks of life. That is something that I hold and I will cherish forever and ever. I would give anything in the world to have all of those celebrations, filmed and on video. And that's something I tell each and every one of them, video. If we have one of these moments, let's video it. Let's show the world how exciting bass fishing is.
Oh yeah.
Because that was one of those moments that you literally could not have scripted that any better.
No. And I really think that one tournament is the one tournament that really solidified the format that Bass Pro Tour uses, because you got to be quite honest, we would have never ever seen a finish like that in any other type of format, where it was just a nail biter, not only for the fishermen but for the fans. So any other type of format, you wouldn't have seen a finish like that in a 5-fish limit tournament. So that really solidified what the Bass Pro Tour is doing with that format. And I mean, man, but you said you didn't get a chance to watch too much of it, but you did watch some highlights. So real quick, for all of our viewers out there, I am going to do a little recap on what happened. Now, you and Wheeler basically going back and forth for the last few hours of the last day of the tournament. And things have kind of slowed down a little bit for you the last half an hour of the tournament, and Wheeler was closing quick. Well, Wheeler actually took the lead, and then you took it back. And I think Wheeler might have took it one more time, and you took it back. And this is all within the last 10, 11, 12 minutes of the tournament. Well, Wheeler had the lead with a minute to go. And when we first started talking a half an hour, 45 minutes ago, we were talking about the pressure that this format has to put on an angler and how you could deal with pressure. But you knew with a minute to go, you were behind Wheeler by, I think it was a couple pounds.
You're right.
Two
I
and a
had
half
to
pounds.
have at least a 2 pound. I think it was a pound and a half, pound 12, somewhere in there.
With a minute to go.
But the minimum scoreable is 2 pounds. So we
And
had to have at least a 2 pound.
You and tell everybody real quick. I'm not going to spill the beans. Tell everybody what you were throwing, and before you tell us what that tournament was won on, I'm going to tell everybody. I don't know the last time I've seen not only a top tier level tournament won on this bait, but a grassroots tournament won on this bait. But what is one of the key baits that you were throwing? I think I know. I think I know. You know where I'm going with this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it was a really unique situation that kind of parlayed into throwing a Buckeye Berserk buzzbait.
Buzzbait. There you are. A buzzbait. Come on, man. A buzzbait.
You're exactly right, and myself included. I mean, I'm sure like most, I almost always have one tied on, and I've caught some fish on it, but a buzzbait is typically not a super high percentage bait to get a lot of bites and to get those bites in the boat. And again, with an every fish counts format, you cannot afford to miss a bite or lose a fish. So it is something that you have to be a little bit careful, kind of putting all your eggs in that basket. But there were a lot of fish that week that were cruising really shallow. So we were, immediately post spawn, still probably a handful spawning, but the bluegill were starting to make their beds, and they weren't full-fledged spawning, but they were up there, doing their deal, and we all know bluegill beds in the immediate post spawn is a great way to tackle big bass. That's usually that time of year. That's what the biggest ones in the body of water are doing. And it was a situation where they were up there cruising, but there weren't enough beds. So they were ultra shallow, but they weren't sitting on a target. They were just cruising up and down these eelgrass flats and kind of all in the back of Mullins Creek there.
Yeah.
So a buzzbait is something that I tied on the night before we started there. It would have been the first day, the knockout round at Nickajack. Had not gotten a bite in what little practice I had there at Nickajack. I had not even had a buzzbait on the deck. I'm sure I had it in the box, but had not made a cast. But just knowing kind of what was happening and how the day was probably going to unfold, I felt like that Berserk was a great bait to pick up in between high percentage places.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a bait that you can cover a lot of water with and do it very quickly. And that was something, the back of Mullins is very, very flat. There's not really any big contours. There's nothing that you can look at a map and say the bass are going to live here. Just kind of have to get in there and root around and find where they're wanting to be in for that moment. But that buzzbait, on the first morning of the knockout, it was raining. I couldn't see real good. I picked that buzzbait up and immediately caught a 115. So it's not a scoreable, but right there, in that range. And it gave me the confidence. And I might have caught a couple others, on that knockout, but it gave me the confidence to, when I don't see a target, I can pick this buzzbait up and it gives me an opportunity to elicit a few extra bites going from high percentage place to the next. And so the championship day, I actually started on a bluegill bed, caught a few on a Yamamoto Cinco, and just kind of started moving through that area. And exactly where I had caught that fish the prior day, 115, in the rain. Of course, you can't see anything subsurface. You don't know what's happening underwater. And I don't have scope turned on. So I am fixing to run out of this area altogether and go to a whole different place. And I thought, that's a 115. One threadfin shad and he's been a score. If there's, a 115 living there, there's got to be a 2-pounder. Yeah. Instead of me just driving by this thing, let's not make you cast. When I stood up, I had not even picked a rod or put the trolling motor down. I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
That only happens a handful of times, and it's kind of hard to even really explain, but I could see exactly what that 115 was on. Now that the sun's up and the conditions are right,
Yeah.
there was a perfect hole, all about the size of your living room or so, in a vast eelgrass flat. And that's one thing that I can, I'll encourage anyone when you're fishing a body of water that has an overabundance of cover, whether that be bushes or lily pads, hydrilla, whatever that cover may be. If there is grass everywhere, you oftentimes want to look for the one place the grass isn't. Or spice, same thing, bushes. If it's really thick lined with bushes, I want to find a pocket that only has a handful. It increases your odds and a much higher percentage of play. So this little hole in the eelgrass, I knew was going to be a perfect place for these bluegill to either make their bed or just stage and hang out until they go make their bed. The very first cast, you can't make this up, my berserk made it about 3 feet over that hole and that 8-pounder ate it. And I'm telling you, I am by no means do I ever want to come off cocky or boastful. And I specifically didn't say this for that reason, but when I got that bite, and again, to re-emphasize, like I knew in air quotes what was going to happen when I stood up and saw that hole. But when that 8-pounder blew up on it, I knew it was game over. Like, this is my day. This is exactly what you dreamed. I've literally dreamed about that my entire life, for things to materialize and to happen on the final day of a major event like the Bass Pro Tour. It was one of those, like I'm living a dream, but it's happening. This is, it's almost like you pinching yourself, wanting to wake up, and it's not happening. So, I really was able to break that hole apart and catch, gosh, I don't even know. We caught a ton of weight out of that little hole, but moving into the last, call it 30 minutes or so, of, getting back to where Jacob and I were really going blow for blow, kind of fish catch for fish catch, I could see that hole was starting to dwindle. I had either caught or educated whatever was living around that. And so I knew, just knowing Jacob, I know how he thinks and how he works. I knew he would have something else in his back pocket. Not to mention, this is where we're fishing is about 15 miles from his house.
Yeah.
I know he knows this.
And Chickamauga is really what Jacob calls home, but Nickajack, you guarantee Jacob's been on Nickajack a time or two.
Absolutely. And so I knew that even going into, the last 15 minutes with a 5 or 10 pound lead, I was not going to feel comfortable. Because I just knew he was going to have something there. And here it is, my area is starting to kind of fall apart and dissipate. So it really took, again, very much like we discussed a while back, those moments of pressure and the stress level, for whatever reason, it was certainly a God thing. I got eerily calm. Like you can actually hear it in that video, me breathing, and you can feel and hear the stress just in my breathing, and all of a sudden it's just like everything's okay. This is all good. This is meant to be. This is gonna happen, and I made a small little adjustment there and picked up a chatterbait and kind of started easing around that particular hole. Again, it was all basically a giant eelgrass flat, and so I thought, well, I burned up what's in the hole. Now we're just going to kind of excavate what's around here. And I did. That's when Jacob and I were kind of back and forth. I'd catch one, he'd catch one. But I decided, and this is something that can help you anywhere. Anytime you've got a group of bass that are living on one key little area, they'll oftentimes get wise to your presentations coming from the exact same direction.
Right.
And I can't really explain that. I don't really know why that is, but oftentimes you can pull a 180, meaning neutral, stop casting, sneak around to the other side, and oftentimes throw the exact same bait, but from a different direction, and you can regenerate and kind of reinvigorate the whole school. And so that was my plan. With call it 6 or 8 minutes left, I swapped sides and eased back to the backside of it. Made a few casts up there with a berserk and didn't get a bite. I said, okay, if they're going to bite and you're going to kind of reignite the school, it generally happens on the first cast or two.
Yeah.
You don't have to try for 30 minutes to figure out if it's going to work. So after that, I knew this was one of those moments. Like we're going to have to get a gift from the good man to make this happen. And I picked that buzz bait up with 1 minute left. I picked chatterbait, various other baits, kind of testing around. But with 1 minute left, I said, you know what? I'm going with what brought me here, and we're going to go down swinging. If this doesn't happen, I'm going to do it with what I feel like I'm the most confident in being able to get a bite with. So I picked that berserk back up, and literally, and I'll never forget, I knew this was my last cast. Like, it's either going to happen now or it's not. I can either make a cast back in that hole where I have been catching them, or I can turn around and throw it out into this last eelgrass flat and hope for the best. And I thought, if there was one in that hole, I would have caught him on the first cast or two. I'm just going to turn around and swing it out here in the middle of essentially no man's land. It's a 3-foot eelgrass flat. And with 18 seconds left, that big 5.5 blew up on it, and it was just the sensation that came from the tip of that Dobbins rod and shot through my arm. Like, I can still feel that. To this day.
It was incredible.
Unbelievable. It doesn't even, again, this is the goal. This is what we, every single cast, I feel like I'm going to catch one. But when that one blew up, it was like, are you kidding me? Like, that really just happened?
Yeah.
And then, of course, everything kind of kicks in, and we go into, to now we've gotten the bite. Now we've got to get it in time. And this is not just a 2-pounder that I can wind in real quick and flip it the boat. So, I had to make the conscious decision. I'm going to drop my rod tip, point it straight at the fish, and I'm going to crank as hard as I can. And she's either going to come in the boat in time, or I'm going to lose her. But I'm not going to, play like you normally would. A fish of that caliber. I'm not even going to give her the opportunity. I feel like if she turns her head one time, that's an extra 3 or 4 or 5 seconds.
Exactly.
So I pointed that rod tip at her and cranked that bait reel for all she had, and actually boat flipped the fish and didn't get a penalty. So it was just a magical moment that, I'm fairly compartmentalized with my emotions, and again, I feel like that's what helps. It may not necessarily be the most entertaining thing to watch, but for me, as a competitor standpoint, I need to keep an even keel, a level head, whether it be good or bad. We catch a great big one to win the event, or we lose one in the middle of the day that cost us, $15,000. You need to be able to recover and get back to level very quickly. And so I'm somewhat monotone and very dialed in, and I don't let a lot of my emotions show in the moment, but that one, you couldn't hold it back, even if it was in the middle of the day. Just the level, the weight that has, come off my shoulders. Again, I've been very fortunate. Won, several Toyotas, won invitationals, won a number of, events around the house, but we've all dreamed of that exact moment of winning a tour level event.
Yeah.
And it was one of those moments that I will obviously cherish, my entire life, and not that that's going to be the last win. We should hope that it's not, but regardless of what happens, the remainder of my career, I'm extremely proud of not just what I was able to do there, and obviously, kind of taking down King Kong, so to speak, on his home waters, but what Jacob and I together were able to do for the sport of bass fishing and the organization, as MLF, and all the excitement that came from that, that's truly what I'm most proud of.
Yeah.
I'm standing here as we speak. I'm looking at that at that trophy and extremely proud of all that came with that. But again, the notoriety that we brought to the sport from people that are outside that would have never ever even known that event existed.
Oh, exactly.
Outside of that highlight, it just
Yeah.
that's something that I will always cherish and hold dear.
And to take that one step to take that one step further too, Jake, when you hooked that 5.5 pounder with 18 seconds to go, while you had it on a boat, of course they had you and Jacob on the split screen on the live stream, but while you had that fish on, you were putting it in the boat with about 5 or 6 seconds to go, boat flipping her. Jacob had one on that was coming as well that he didn't get in time that looked like about 2.5 pounds. So if Jacob was to get that fish in, I still don't think it might have put him over what you ended up having with a 5.5, but it would have made it a whole lot closer.
Even closer. And I kind of wish that he would have been able to get that in. Just to have those couple extra seconds of my official, whether the viewers see this or not, on live, there are times when things are updating and happening so fast right there at the end of the day that we don't really even know. The day is concluded, but we don't really even know for sure what was, like, again, I'm doing all that celebrating and I think that I won it, but if Jacob gets that fish in and it's a 4.5 or 5 pounder, he wins. And here I am sitting here celebrating, think I'm on top of the world. So it's certainly a unique situation to kind of be in there, and for whatever reason, the last 10 minutes of every day, it always seems to kind of pop off like that. We'll all kind of run into a couple extras in the last few minutes there.
Yeah.
They really kind of jostle the whole.
Exactly, and again, it just goes to show, how MLF kind of is at the forefront of innovation with this type of a platform and weigh-in type of deal, because I mean, we talk about Nick and Jack and Chickamauga and you and Wheeler, but it goes back to what you were just saying. It almost seems like every stage, every event, whether it's in a period 1, period 2, or the third period or the final day, something happens where it comes down to a nail biter at the very end. And again, man, without that format, we would never see, the fans would never see it. And I mean, it almost is like almost every event that you guys have, it's like 2 minutes to go in the Super Bowl when a team is driving down, trailing by 4, and needing a touchdown to win with 2 minutes to go. It seems like almost every event, something like that, it ends up with something like that. So it's making the sport really interesting for fans. It's bringing new viewers, new fans into the sport just because of that format. How exciting it gets.
Absolutely. You're exactly right. And there are a ton. Y'all are only seeing, from a viewership standpoint, you're only seeing a small number of those scenarios play out. I can think of 3 different times last season. Now you think of however many thousands of casts I made during the course of only in tournament hours, but during the course of those 7 main regular season events. 3 different times I hooked a bass with less than 10 seconds left in competition, and 2 of them I get them in, 1 I don't. It cost me about 10 grand. And so it's like, even on down the trickling down the standings, there are situations and outcomes that happen in the last few seconds there that maybe aren't as as huge for the winner, but to make a $10,000-$15,000 check can be the difference in 2 or 3 seconds.
Oh yeah.
And again, that's all part of high intensity format and the way that we've structured this. And I'll tell you that one of the most exciting parts of MLF and kind of all things that they have going is we're not stopping with just the Bass Pro Tour. We're going to give this format legs and be able to bring this to the weekend anglers. And I'm super excited about that. I'm really
That's going to be insane.
behind that, and that Score Tracker Live is going to be something that I really feel like both from a conservation standpoint as well as a competitive standpoint. This is really bringing new things to the table, and I'm extremely excited about next year and kind of getting that going. I'm actually looking at hosting a tournament and utilizing the Score Tracker Live for everyone that's within reasonable driving distance of Kentucky Lake here. I'm already kind of putting a pen to the paper on that and doing my due diligence. So I'm extremely excited to see. I've not mentioned this, and it's not all that. It is important, but there was a smaller trail here 3 or 4 years ago that actually had that same format, and I can't tell you enough of that little tournament. We fished it maybe 2 or 3 years there on Pickwick and won it, finished second. We did real well in it and had a lot of fun. But that is what sealed my fate for MLF and the format that we have. Like, I knew from the moment that I fished that kind of smaller tour, that it wasn't really a tour, just a small weekend angler deal, but it had the every fish counts format and very similar to how we're running the show now. There was no doubt this is what I was going to do.
And everybody that's watching that's wondering what Jake's talking about. Next year, Bubba Scales, along with MLF, in conjunction with MLF, is going to bring Score Tracker to basically the grassroots. Everybody is going to be able to take advantage of using the Score Tracker for different charity events, tournaments, whatever kind of tournament you want to do. You're going to now be able to utilize Score Tracker. And I actually had Boyd Duckett a few episodes ago was on, and we were talking about that. And Boyd really went into detail on what's going down with the partnership between MLF and Bubba Scales. But that is something that I'm looking forward to as well, man, because that's going to be insane, and that just kind of goes to show the technology, and how great the technology is we have that's involving in the sport today to be able to, and with MLF with their Score Tracker Live, and how they're able to actually bring that now to where everybody is going to be able to utilize and have tournaments run just like you're watching on TV with the Bass Pro Tour. So that's lights out.
You're absolutely right. I think everybody is going to love it. And, I'm not ashamed to say I really feel like this is the future of where tournament fishing is headed. I mean, with the advancements in technology and all the things that we have behind us, there's really no excuse. There's no doubt there are more people fishing now than what there used to be. We're a lot more efficient at what we do, and therefore we're putting a lot more pressure on these fish in different bodies of water than we ever have. So I think this is something that's really important and something that I am all for. Just again, I want these fisheries and these bodies of water to be in better shape for my kids and grandkids than what they are even now.
Exactly.
So any way that we can help and kind of push that's the direction that I like, and again, man, it's just I love all the things that Boyd and Major League. I think they've done a great job kind of juggling this whole forward-facing dilemma, and we seem to be making good decisions and decisions that maybe aren't the easiest to make. kind of outside looking in. And look, I don't care what decision that we make, you cannot make everybody happy, and I understand that. Major League does, but I really feel like they're making good decisions that are really going to kind of steer the future of competitive fishing.
Yes. All right, man. We got one more thing to talk about, and it's hard to believe, man. We've already been talking for an hour and 15 minutes, and that goes back to what we're talking about when we first started, man. We get to talking fishing, and we can talk fishing all day long. But we got to get into something here. Breaking news, and I don't know how much breaking news it is now, but you just partnered with Cornfield Fishing Gear. Now, I've been with Cornfield Fishing Gear myself for the last year and a half, going on 2 years now. But when I was talking to the boys at Cornfield, they were telling me, man, we might be getting Jake Lawrence on the team. I was stoked. I was doing the winning fist pump, while he was telling me this. I'm like, oh man, that is insane. But let's talk about that, Jake. Cornfield Fishing Gear.
Yes, absolutely. Again, there's been a ton of advancements in technology, specifically with, our depth finders and chart plotters over the past couple of years, and specifically speaking with the Bass Pro Tour and our format with 1 period with forward and 2 without.
Yeah.
It became very apparent to me that I needed to be the most efficient in all 3 of those periods. And what I mean by that, and what I really am excited about with Cornfield and Will, the whole crew, they're all behind it. Obviously, we make stellar products, and the manufacturing, the way that they go about doing that. I spent half a day up there, meeting with them and touring the plant, and it is unbelievable what all goes into, manufacturing what I look at, and I am the least mechanically inclined person you have ever talked to, I can assure you. I know what a Phillip and a flathead is like. We don't want to go much further than that, but they really tackled all of the potential problems, and really, by a lot of it by trial and error. I mean, that's part of the process, but they are really astute at taking, let's say a triple stack mount, and how can we make this the very best mount possible? And that's what I'm the most excited about. Will and I we're already discussing and kind of talking about directions of how we want what I really felt like I needed, and what I found there with Cornfield was I want my forward-facing unit to be in my face, right there where I need it to be in the period that I can use it.
Yeah.
Yet I need to push it out of the way, get it lower, get it flatter to the ground when I'm not, and that absolutely sold me above anything else is the ease in which we can reposition, recompartmentalize, depending on kind of what we're looking for. The amount of options that they have for, configurations on units, it's just endless. I mean, literally, we spent, half or a little over a half a day there. We stood at one table, and exactly which table I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Looking at all these mounts and going over, and we can do this here, and we can.
It's
all rock solid and easily interchangeable. It's just, man, it's what I've needed for a long time. I'm really excited to get it on the new boat and get everything dialed back in, and it's going to be a great partnership. And honestly, I'm looking forward to to working with them. I have some ideas myself, and Will and I have already kind of bounced some things back and forth, and to be honest with you, one of my favorite, and it's kind of behind the scenes. You don't see it a whole lot. You don't hear about it a ton. But I love to take whatever it may be. Take this widget, and how can we make this the most efficient, the most solid product that's going to meet the end user's need? And that's something that you don't always see in a lot of businesses. You know, there are a lot. We've got a strategy. We're sticking to it. This is what we're doing. This is how the products are developed. And this is how we're going to go about it. And I understand that, and I'm fine with that to some degree. But I love the openness that Cornfield provides in, hey, you got a great idea. Let's come up here and knock it out.
Oh yeah.
We'll put this thing through the mill or lathe or whatever all that fancy machinery is up there, and we'll knock out exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Let's go put it on a boat and take it on the lake in the roughest day this week. and that's again, I have a ton of fun. It's a frustration. It's a whole lot of time invested in it, but it all just goes back. I'm extremely grateful for this platform that I've been given and to be put in this position, and I just want to do good. I want to make things better. It's so cliche to say, and everybody said it, but I want this to be a better place if and when I ever decide to leave or get kicked out than where it is.
Exactly. Want to leave it in a
field and Will, the whole crew there, they are all on board, and I'm really looking to digging in deep with them, and it's going to be a lot of fun in the next couple months.
Now you're talking about getting a chance to walk through their facilities. Back in April, I was there with demo days, participating in their demo days, and I got there a day or two early, so I was able to. We actually went in and shot a walkthrough video of the facilities, and then after the walkthrough video, Will and Mark actually gave me a tour. But getting back to the facilities now, you always hear companies, products say made in the USA, and that could be true, but most all products that might say they're made in the USA, they're getting their parts or something in that product is coming from overseas. Very rarely you're going to have a product that is 100%. When I say 100%, I mean nothing at all in that product is out of the country. Well, they produce, manufacture, and one at a time, right there in their facilities. Everything is machined in the machine. They have a full-fledged, and when I say full-fledged machine shop, so how about some of the machines, Jake, that they actually use to build a product on? Literally blew me away looking at these machines in progress.
When I walked in there, if Chris Parker or Will One had said that's a spaceship and we took that to Mars last week, I'd believe it.
Yeah.
I've never seen the machinery that they've got in there.
Yeah.
And again, that's that's a huge part of it. Just as you said, a lot of these companies like to market that they're made in air quotes, made in America.
Exactly.
But in reality, they're assembled in America.
Yeah. And
that's a stark difference from being manufactured and made and put together. And the quality control, that's where we see the biggest difference in our overseas products versus what's made here in the state is quality control. That's something that I can tell you just from talking with the crew there, Mr. Martin. He is on top of it.
Yeah.
He's got it dialed. You can just tell the way that he walks around and approaches whatever I don't know, is that a mill? I assume some of those machines. I'm not even.
Yeah, I mean everything from milling machines to lathes, everything.
And all that. But you can tell when he walks over there, and we did it. I mean, they took me to each machine, each little sector of the plant there, and as he's explaining what this machine is, he's sitting here fondling a new bracket on a triple stack.
Yeah.
He's he's twisting it. You know, he's doing his due diligence, and they
Yeah.
go far
Oh,
above
far
that
beyond, man.
to
And
check their quality control.
and
But just,
good.
no, well, I was gonna say just his emphasis and like the way that he described and talked about, you know, their more or less the assembly line. It starts here, you know, gets milled out, goes to here, gets. You can just tell this is not their first rodeo.
No.
They've seen it, they've done it, they've experienced it. Not that there aren't always, you know, new things that come into play, and they're
Yeah.
certainly open-minded, but they have got this to a T.
Oh
They
yeah.
know what they're fixing to get involved in long before they get there.
Yeah. And Mark, his background is master machinist, so that's what he does, and he's just bringing his master machinist into the cornfield fishing gear product. So man, just like you say, and I can't say it any better than you just basically said it, Jake. Top notch stuff. Everything's made, manufactured, produced 100% in the USA. So, and we're going to throw it out right now because they are the sponsor for tonight's episode too. So, if you want to check them out, make sure to go to their website at cornfieldfishinggear.com and check them out on their website as well, because just so impressive. The quality, and like you say, quality control as well, man, is there with the cornfield fishing gear products.
Absolutely, and I encourage everyone, just as you did, make sure give them a follow. Be on the lookout. I would assume here pretty quickly we're going to start some promotional opportunities and kind of kicking this thing off. Maybe first of the year, but certainly be on the lookout. I think we've got some really exciting, cool opportunities for everyone that they'll certainly want to be a part of. So definitely go give them a follow and be on the lookout. I'm sure you're going to see my ugly mug plenty in the spring. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to everybody being a part of it.
That's awesome, man. Well, Jake, we have been on now for an hour, going on an hour and a half, man. I want to tell you I appreciate the time, man. It's been a fun time, really sitting down and talking to you. It always is. Every time I get a chance to BS with you, man, and talk fishing, it's always fun times. And look forward also to catching up with you at Redcrest. Of course, I'm going to be there once again doing media, so look forward to seeing you on Media Day at Redcrest, or the Media Gala, I think they call it. So it's going to be some fun times once we get to Redcrest, dude.
Absolutely.
And
I tell you, that is going to be an awesome venue. You know, I really like where our head's at and the direction we're going with Redcrest there in kind of the Springfield, Branson area.
Yeah.
Bass Pro.
That's going to be insane right there, because it's going to be at the mothership of the Bass Pro Shop right there. So that's going to be insane, the location where Redcrest is this year.
It sure is. It's going to be a great time, and I recommend anybody coming out. You know, the one cool thing, maybe real quick, but the one cool thing about professional fishing that is so much different than many other professional athletes is we're right here. We are on the ground floor. We are obtainable, meaning, you know, we're approachable, I guess would be the better word. And I encourage anyone. I've had several, you know, younger kids or even adults alike be timid and kind of nervous to come up to me when they see me in a restaurant or out of the sportsman's warehouse, wherever it may be. Always, don't ever hesitate. I love all the fan interactions, and we'll take photos and share fishing stories all you want to. So that's one cool thing, Redcrest.
Exactly.
Again, I'm available all the time. But Redcrest is a fantastic place to have that opportunity to spend, even if it's a few moments, 5 or 10 minutes with an athlete. It's certainly something that that's really cool and different in our industry.
Exactly. You know, and you said it right there, approachable, man. And that's what really separates our sport from other sports like football, basketball, baseball, is there's no other professional sport out there where the fans really have total 100% access to the players in the game. And every one of the players in the game is approachable. They love talking fishing just like yourself, and they'll talk to a fan just as well as they're going to talk to their own, colleagues. So that's the one thing that separates our sport from other sports is the approachability of the sport and the fan access that you actually do get as fans to the players in the game too. So that was well said, Jake.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes, sir. Well, thank you very much.
Yes, sir, man. And
let's do it again here.
We definitely will, man. Before we get off though, real quick, tell us your social media platform. So if anybody might not be already following you, they could actually follow you on social media.
Absolutely, it's Jake Lawrence Fishing. Whether it be YouTube, all the social outlets. I'm not a big TikToker, but as far as Instagram or Facebook, YouTube, all that, it's Jake Lawrence Fishing.
Awesome, man. Jake, it's been a blast, and look forward to seeing you next time, dude. We'll talk to you later.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Bye now. Thanks for watching this week's episode of On the Mic with Jake Lawrence. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Norman Lee Fishing. This has been an MLF production.